Alright, hello. I'm going to present the lumbar extension and thoracic extension tests. So there's a long list of muscles. Luckily the innervations are all just the, any nerve in the thoracic, lumbar, cervical region of the spine. Where these muscles are near, that's where they're innervated. So you don't have to worry about that so much. With these muscles, it varies with wherever they happen to be along the spine. So first off, we have iliocostalis thoracis. It originates at the angles of ribs 12 to 7 and inserts into the angles of ribs 6 to 1 and also the transverse process of C7. Iliocostalis lumborum originates in the thoracolumbar fascia, the posterior surface of the sacrum, and the erector spinae tendon, and it inserts into the angles of ribs 6 through 12. The longissimus thoracis originates in the thoracolumbar fascia as well, along with the erector spinae tendon as well, but this one also originates in the transverse processes of L1 through L5. And then inserts into the transverse processes of T1 through T12 and the ribs of 2 through 12. Then spinalis thoracis originates at the spinous processes of T11 and T12, the erector spinae tendon, and then inserts into the spinous processes of T1 through T4. Semispinalis thoracis originates in the transverse processes of T6 through T10, and then inserts into the spinous processes of C6 through T4. Multifidi is in the lumbar, thoracic, and cervical regions. It originates in the mammillary processes of L1 through L5, the transverse processes of T1 through T12, and the articular processes of C4 through C7, and all of them insert into the spinous processes of the vertebrae, either 2 or 4, vertebrae higher from where they started. The rotatores thoracis and lumborum originate at the transverse processes of all the vertebrae, and they insert into the next highest vertebrae's lamina. So the interspinalis thoracis and lumborum all innervate between the spinous processes of the vertebrae they're associated with, so it's just from one vertebrae to the next, their spinous processes. And then the intertransversari thoracis and lumborum. The thoracis go between the transverse processes of the thoracic vertebrae and L1, and then the lumborum goes from the accessory processes of the superior vertebra to the mammillary process of the inferior vertebra, and that is in the lumbar region. And then the quadratus lumborum originates at the iliac crest and inner lip, and then the iliolumbar ligament, or ilium's crest, and inner lip. And then the insertion is the 12th rib, L1 through L4, the transverse processes of those vertebrae, and also the body of T12. So, yes, there's a lot of muscles there. For the test, let me move over. So we have our patient here, Zach. You're going to have your patient lay on their belly. And your grade 3 for both thoracic and lumbar, grades 3, 2, and 1, and 0 are all the same. So your grade 3, you're just going to hold their legs and have them lift. So Zach, I'm going to have you lift your chest and your head up towards the ceiling. Go ahead and lift up. There you go. And his goal, and come back down. His goal is to just try and get his belly button off the table. So this is a bed, it's not a plinth, so it's a little bit more difficult. On a plinth, it'd be a little bit more obvious. You could see, where they're actually coming up off the table. But you always want to do the counterweight at the ankles. Now, if you're doing lumbar, what you want to do is have the patient put their hands behind their head. So, yep, there you go. Hands behind the head. And then, so this is changing the lever arm, making the weight higher along his body, so it makes it a little more difficult. And you're going to put some weight on the ankles again, and then have them lift up and do the same thing. So lift your chest and head up off the table. Good. And come back down. Good. And that's going to be a 5 if they make it look really easy, and then a 4 if it looks like it's really difficult, or if you see them come up and kind of like spring up there, like they kind of waver at the top, then that is more of a 4 than a 5. A 5, they just solidly come up. They make it look easy. So then, for thoracic extension, you're going to scooch the patient down. So Zach, I'm going to have you move up so your chest is right on the edge of the table there. Good. So you're not going to say this to your patient, but you'd be looking for them to be like, for the table to be right at their nipple line. And you're going to hold their feet again. So Zach, I'm going to have you put your hands on your head. There you go. And then you're going to lift so that you're horizontal with the floor. So go ahead and lift your body up. There you go. And then come back down. Good. And then you can scooch back and relax. You don't have to stay there. So for that, that's a 4 and a 5. So a 5, once again, they make it look easy. They come right up, they hold it and come back down. A 4, if you know, it looks labored, if it takes time to get up there, you know, if it doesn't look easy, then it's a 4. So, and then 2, 1, and 0, what you're going to want to do, so hands by your side, Zach. So for 2, again, you're going to hold their legs, and you're just going to have them try, and if they're going to shoot for partial range of motion. So he's going to lift up, shoot for partial range of motion, and then come back down. Good. So that's a 2. And then a 1, you could give them a little support down here, and you're going to feel the upper back when they try and lift. So go ahead, ask them to try and lift. Good. And then you feel for a contraction in the back. You feel, you know, anywhere in the spine. And you can't really distinguish the different muscles, but as long as you feel something going on there, you've got a trace. And that's your 1. And then 0 is nothing. So that's your lumbar and thoracic extension manual muscle testing. Thank you.